That's the start of a race during the weekend of the National Cyclocross Championships. Hi, I'm Matthew Piero, editor of Canadian Cycling Magazine. In this episode, I look at the lessons from Cross Nationals, which were held on November 2nd in Peterborough, Ontario. I spoke with 6 riders, not only about what some of their wins and disappointments meant, but also about the event itself and some of the things we can look forward to next year. Before we get to Nationals, I want to take a quick look at another important cyclocross event, the Pan Am Championships. Jake Williams was at the races in Midland, Ontario on November 9th and 10th, covering the action for us. He's the producer of the Lantern Rouge podcast, which I like to call the frenemy podcast of Canadian Cycling Magazine. Hey Jake, how's it going?
It's going great, Matthew. How are you today?
I'm well, and it's with a bit of envy that I was following your coverage at the Silver Goose, and I'm keen to hear how it went over the weekend, the Pan Am Championships. What was the standout performance for you?
Yeah, so one of the standout performances on Sunday was Matthew Lelyveld. He's one of the hardwood kids from Canada, of course, stacking third place on the podium for the junior race. Now, last year he was 14th, so I thought that was pretty impressive as he jumped up the ranks. Also joining Ruby West on the U23 podium were Dana Gilligan, and in second place, which was a great upgrade from her 6th place last year. So two really cool Canadian standout battles that I thought were kind of keen to note.
Yeah, thanks, Jake, for highlighting those performances, because we expected, in a way, to see Magali, if not on the top step of the podium, but we were expecting to see Magali Rochette defend her Pan Am Champ jersey, which was great. She had a cool skid finish, which was wicked. And Ruby West, she may have seemed to struggle a bit over at Nationals just before the Goose, but she seemed to put it all together for the Pan Am jersey. And then it was also great to see those other riders in the mix.
For sure. And definitely, I mean, Ruby rode a very clean race. You could tell her competitors trying to track her down were having trouble staying upright. And after the race, I spoke with Ruby, and she was very focused, and that was her goal, was to ride a clean race. And same with Mag, because she put on quite the performance.
So what was the weather like throughout the weekend?
Yeah, so Saturday was definitely a little bit chillier, a little drier. We didn't see really any precipitation on the course throughout the day. Temperatures kind of hovered around zero, a little bit lower. Sunday really got pretty sloppy by the end of it. We saw some precipitation, light drizzle turning into pretty heavy rain through the late morning and into the early afternoon. And by the end of the men's race, a lot of the off-camera sections, riders were really struggling with traction. There was a ton of roots exposed that we didn't see earlier in the weekend. And of course, after the race, I don't know if you caught, but there was some mudslide shenanigans throughout the descent area that was really, making people think twice about even riding down. A lot of riders getting off and walking. So course got real sloppy, and it was definitely a true cross race.
I definitely enjoyed seeing some of the competitors from my Masters races having some slipping and sliding. I call it a bit of Schadenfreude, but it was also the pros that were putting their technical abilities to the limits. Is that the case?
That was definitely the case. I heard reports. I didn't see it live up front, but I heard Stephen Hyde had a difficult time through that technical descent, and he did, in fact, lose quite a bit of time. I also witnessed firsthand in the last lap of the men's elite race a little bit of a bobble by Kerry Werner and Curtis White, who got mixed up, and that allowed Jamie Driscoll, who was another standout performance, to be honest, at the ripe age of 34 in the hunt, third place. He caught up, and it was really just, anyone's race at that point. So really the conditions did dictate the racing, for sure.
Is there anything that surprised you that you just completely didn't expect when you were at the Pan Am Championships?
To be honest, I was really surprised and impressed by the organization. The ability for that fairly small team to be able to put that race together again in such short time. So, just kudos to them, to be honest with you. Racing, I thought, in terms of surprises, not nothing really comes to mind other than those breakthrough performances. I mean, I would say one surprise would be Jamie Driscoll in the elite race. He did break his leg last year, and I spoke with him after the race, and this was his first really major result of the year. I remember following him, 10 plus years ago, so he's been around a while, and to see him podium both days was pretty surprising and exciting.
You make a good point about the race organizers. The story of the Silver Goose is very much the little race that could. John Hauser is the organizer. He started this race, a good drive north of Toronto, and it's since grown and grown. In the past 2 years, they've hosted the Pan Am Championships. I understand it's taking a break next year, but we'll see. We'll see if the Goose will take flight again after that. We'll keep an eye on that.
Exactly. I hope to see it back. I remember going there one of the first years, and looking back, I think it was 2013 or 14, and man, how far they've come just in terms of not only the course design, but just the level of show they put on now compared to then. It's definitely world class.
Well, Jake, my frenemy in podcasting, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate coming on, and looking forward to talking to you as well.
Jake Williams is the producer of the Lantern Rouge podcast. Even though he's my frenemy in podcasting, I do recommend you take a listen to his pod. It's all good hangs and laughs by the side of the course tape. The Lantern Rouge almost hands up a beer to you through your headphones. Here at Nichols Oval Park in Peterborough, Ontario, I've had the chance to see the country's best duke it out at the National Cyclocross Championships. The contests for the Maple Leaf jerseys also tell us how riders and the discipline itself is doing. Here are some lessons, some insights from some of the athletes at Nationals. The first is Aaron Schooler. I was surprised and happy to see him racing. He was on the elite podium in 2016, 2015, 2013, 2011, 2010, 2009. This year, he raced in the Masters 35 to 44 category. He was second. Schooler, who's on parental leave with his young daughter, has a group called the Cycling Mamas to thank for his latest trip to the podium. Aaron, you're now an old man. I say that because you used to be on the podium all the time in the elite, but now you're on the podium.
Still can't win though.
I mean, you've got your humor. They can't take that away from you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I get to step on the podium another year, which is good.
So I understand some of your fitness comes from a group that you belong to called Cycling Mamas. Can you tell us what it's like being a cycling mama?
Yeah, it's fun. It's for all the stay-at-home moms, I guess, or parents or dads. So yeah, it's you basically go twice a week. You ride with the chariot to the church, and you drop your kid off, and you go for a ride for an hour. Come back, pick up your kid, have some snacks, and then go home.
Sounds all right. Now, how much can you credit the Cycling Mamas with your second place today?
Well, without Cycling Mamas, I would probably get, I don't know, how long is a race? An hour, maybe like 2 hours a week. But now I'm up to 5 with Cycling Mamas, which is good. So yeah, no, it wouldn't have put me on the podium today, that's for sure. Without it.
Well, congratulations on the podium. We look forward to you now having a run of Masters podiums from here on.
Well, thanks. If I start getting chirped, I'll just move to elite. It's okay.
The elite women's field had only 7 riders in it. 7. In 2018, 19 elite women competed. Sandra Walter was 3rd in the championship race, both this year and last. She and I discussed the small field as she was working in the pits for her partner at the following day's C2 race. Later, she spoke about why it's important that riders support such events.
So I've been coming out to cross nationals basically 2 years in Winnipeg, 2 years in Sherbrooke, 2 years here. And I think it's really important that the cyclocross community comes out and supports the events, no matter if you don't think you're fit enough, whatever, just come and support Canadian sport. It was a bit sad yesterday when there were only 7 or 8 women on the start list for the elite category. It's like, where is everyone? Ontario has the highest population density of Canada, and we saw smaller fields than a local BC race would see. So I'd like to throw out that challenge to all of you for next year. Come out, support your cyclocross national championships, the organizers, your whole community, and come out to Victoria, BC, lovely Victoria, BC. And see you there, and bring your A game. Even if you don't have your A game, bring your B game. It's just all about being there and enjoying. It's such a cool vibe, and you're going to have a fun time, guaranteed.
Magali Rochette became the national champion for the 3rd time. I also asked her about the small elite women's field.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. At the same time, I kind of understand why people Canada's a big country. We're not Belgium. So if people from the West Coast, if they want to come, it's a pretty expensive trip. And I think they're like, I don't know what it is, but I know it is expensive, and it is a big trip. So if they feel like they can be on the podium, maybe they don't want to try it. However, I would say, my first one was in Vancouver 6 years ago, and I didn't do well, but that was great experience that I think is being very useful now. So sometimes it looks like a big trip, expensive trip, but there's so much to learn in those trips. So hopefully more people come out next year and in next years. Yeah.
Just before Gunnar Holmgren crossed the finish line to claim his 2nd consecutive under-23 championship jersey, he kissed his front tire. Why? Well, getting your equipment dialed is a key part of cross. It was his way of acknowledging the importance of his gear.
I'd say that experience plays a big part when the course conditions are changing constantly. I definitely relied on a lot of that. A lot of my experiences in Europe and North America in the mud and the sand and everything, just to dial in my tire pressure, figure out my strategy for the race. And yeah, that definitely played a huge part.
Ruby West didn't have the race she wanted. The defending under-23 champion couldn't make it 3 in a row. She was second to Sydney McGill, who last pulled on the Maple Leaf jersey in 2016. West had 2 takeaways from nationals. One very practical, the other quite positive.
It's always better to be warm than cold. Always pack more clothes and socks and gloves than you think you'll need. Those extremities, they get cold real quick, and then they don't warm back up. I would say also, it's been a wild weekend. I would say that racing close to home is really cool because you have a lot of friends and family, so that is something I will never take for granted. And just the Canadian cyclocross community is super cool. Everyone's cheering no matter whether you're having a great day or an awful day, and everyone's just out there to bring out the best in each other. So it's a great community we've got going.
Michael Vandenham, who became the elite men's cyclocross champion for the 3rd time, had 2 lessons from nationals.
One is it's not going to get any easier to win these things. The kids are coming, Gunnar's coming, Marc-Andre is getting faster every year, and it's definitely not going to get any easier. And then the second one is I had a bit of a slip up in my race, and just a good reminder that you can put your head down and make it for some mistakes as long as you can stay positive and be in a good mindset. A lot more is possible maybe than your initial reaction is after you make a mistake.
So that's what the top athletes took away from nationals. For me, I thought the racing was solid, even though the results weren't surprising. Maybe Sydney McGill's under-23 victory was unexpected. I have to admit, Ruby West was my pick before the race, but I wouldn't call McGill's win shocking. The organizers put on a solid event, marked out a great course, and somehow managed some CX-appropriate weather with the drizzle. The event did seem a bit quieter than last year's, though. I'm not ready to draw any big conclusions out of that. Next year, Nationals will be in Victoria. The change in location every 2 years does give Nats a boost. Each new venue seems to bring new energy. I've spoken with 2020 organizer John Watkin, and big things are in the works. I'm already looking forward to next year. And that's the episode. It's put together by me, Matthew Piero, with help from Terry McCall. It's produced by Adam Killick. He also composed the music. Thanks go to Ontario Creates for its support. You can find more cycling news and gear reviews on cyclingmagazine.ca, as well as links to all of our social media channels. And with that, the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is going to be taking a break. We'll be returning sometime in the new year. In the meantime, we'll be working on the next season and sharing some of our favorite episodes from our first. Stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.